Good morning. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I thought today I'd spend some time talking about cognitive dissonance theory. This is a central theory across the behavioral sciences, really created about 1957 by Leon Festinger. And I can't think of a more significant theory as it applies to persuasion than this one, because all persuasion relies upon dissonance to convert people. I thought that for this talk I would rely a bit on this book. This is a book that I wrote some years ago with my friend Dr. Cook on persuasion, and in it is a significant chapter on what are called balance theories. They are very central to persuasion. And one of those balance theories is called cognitive dissonance. So in this book, I write about dissonance and cognitive dissonance in particular and Festinger's creation of it. So I wanted to give you the background because it's really quite interesting, I think. In 1957, Festinger published a book that was called When Prophecy Fails. Isn't that a great title? When Prophecy Fails. And he was interested in what happens to these cults when there are predictions of the end of the world, and there are many of these. Every few years we get another one. And when the end of the world does not happen, what occurs or what happens to the people within the cult who believe this and have to suffer the knowledge that the prophecy they followed did not happen, did not come true? What happens to them? Do they say, well, this was all BS, I'm out of here, I'm not going to follow this prophet anymore? Or does something else occur, something kind of middle ground? Well, Festinger found a cult called the Guardians, led by a woman who said that she had contact with alien beings out in space somewhere, and that these aliens had told her that the end of the world was near. It was actually going to happen on a Tuesday at 3 in the afternoon. And so she gathered a group of people who followed her, believed her prophecies, etc. And she told them that they were going to be saved by this alien group, and they would be the only human beings saved from destruction of the planet because of their faith and belief. So on the appointed day, they all gathered in the backyard of the prophetess and waited for the flying saucer to come pick them up. And you must understand, these people weren't idle believers. They quit their jobs, they gave money away, they thought they were leaving forever. And, of course, the appointed time came, and I know this will shock you, but the flying saucer did not come. And so time passed, and they wondered what happened. So the prophetess retired to her bedroom where she communicated by telepathy with these aliens out in space. And after some time, she came out and she told them that this was just a test. They were testing to see if they truly believed, and that the real end would come in a week or so. And so there was another time given, and they were told this time that a man would come to pick them up and drive them to the flying saucer where they would fly off into space and live happily ever after. Well, these people, when prophecy failed, did not say, this is a bunch of BS, I'm out of here. They simply waited and reconvened on the given day when they were supposed to be picked up at midnight, I believe. And again, the man never arrived to take them to the flying saucer. And again, the group wondered what happened. They were left, standing out in the cold again. The prophetess went into the bedroom and came out after a couple hours, and she said, I have good news. I have talked to the aliens, and they have said, because of our great faith, we have saved the world. And so the people that were part of this group did not, again, quit and decide that they had been conned. Quite the opposite. They took to heart the notion that their faith had saved the world, and they went out and recruited others to join the Guardians, this cult that they were followers of. And so this is what we call counterintuitive in research, that the outcome of this goes against what you would most likely believe would happen. What you would suspect would be true would be that these people would throw in the towel and say, oh, you're a con artist, I'm not following you, you're nuts. But that's not what happened. Instead, they doubled down on their faith and kept going and recruited others. And so dissonance is the point at which you have a feeling that of discomfort. You feel that you have been somehow, perhaps, conned, and you can go one way or the other. You say, I feel uncomfortable with this circumstance, so what do I do? And so you can either bail out and say, I was stupid to believe this, and bail out, but that's hard too, because it's hard to believe that you were stupid. That hurts. And so the other thing to do is to say, well, I think I was right. It's just the timing is off, or some other element is wrong, or we saved the world. And you double down and say, no, I'm absolutely correct. And I'm a greater believer now than ever before. And this dissonance theory developed as something that could be used not only for psychological examination of people in cults, but really for all of us. It was used in marketing, as your textbook points out, in the concept of buyer's remorse, that, when you go and buy a new car, a lot of times when people buy a car, they don't really know much about the car the day they buy the car. They buy it because it has a cool sound system, or it is a beautiful looking car, or they feel they look great in the car, or their friends will be really impressed with this car, and it's good for their image. And we buy on emotion, and then we own on logic, which means that we buy the car because we have an emotional attachment to the way it looks or the way it drives, and then we have to determine why we bought it. And so then we began reading all sorts of information about that vehicle, or we talk to others about it who also own a similar car, and they tell us all the reasons that this car or this truck is a great buy and very reliable and run forever. And so our dissonance, our buyer's remorse in the beginning, when we decided, well, I bought this kind of quick and I'm not sure is maybe the best purchase I could have made, and we don't want to deal with that dissonance, so we find reasons as to why buying this car was smart. In fact, if you'll look in magazines, a lot of times you'll see these long ads with lots of writing telling you about a given vehicle. And, I might say why the Ford F-150 is better than the Chevy. And, it's all writing. Those ads are not there for people who are considering buying the vehicle. They're there for people who've already bought the vehicle so that they won't suffer dissonance, or they can reduce any dissonance or buyer's remorse they might have and feel comfortable with the car. Because one thing that car companies don't want is they don't want an individual running around telling people that they bought a lemon, or that they regret buying the vehicle. That's horrible for marketing. They want them to be happy. So they give them all the reasons as to why they made a good decision. That's why I say people buy on emotion and own on logic. If you talk to a person the day they bought a vehicle and a month later, they'll start giving you all the reasons that they bought this vehicle, the logical reasons that it was a good choice. And much of the time, those reasons came to them after they bought it, not before, but they are projecting backwards in time to make it look like they made a rational choice. So rationalization is one of those defenses against dissonance, where we either rationalize that we made a logical choice before the fact, or we find the reasons to diminish the negatives and to amplify the positives about a given thing. And this is true for everything in life. Anytime you make a decision, there's going to be a little bit of dissonance over, the choice you might have made. Suppose someone, it often happens when young people finally, after a number of years of being wild and single, they finally settle down, finally decide to get engaged, let's say. And at that point, they may suffer some dissonance. Because on the one hand, they think they're kind of ready, but on the other hand, there's this expression I like today called FOMO, F-O-M-O, fear of missing out, and that comes into play. What if I'm going to miss out on my true love who's 2 years down the road? What if I'm settling too soon